So Jony Ive is partnering with OpenAI. At least his design firm Lovefrom is, and it's honestly weird because it's kind of the first time that his voice and his appearance has been seen publicly in any kind of like marketing context for quite some time. Like I think one of the last things Jony Ive voiced for Apple was the redesign of the 2019 Mac Pro and Pro Display XDR. Since then, we haven't really heard from him.
And the Pro stand, $999. And like the Mac Pro, they'll all be available in the fall.
I have some thoughts about this collaboration and how it pertains to Apple and how it pertains to tech, and some of you may not like it. Sorry, but not sorry. Let's begin. So I want to preface this whole video by saying Jony Ive, regardless of what he releases or what they unveil, he has an incredible legacy and nothing will take that away from him, okay? Like, he is a fantastic designer that absolutely put his hand and had a massive effect on all technology, regardless of if it's Apple or not, because Apple had such an influential impact on the industry globally, okay? I'm not just talking about hardware, but software as well. So many Android companies like Samsung and Google all looked at emulating that Apple feel, that Apple experience that Jony Ive in many ways kind of invented. You know, I'm sure there was a lot of collaboration that went on. It wasn't him single-handedly, but he has such a massive role in the tech we use today that no one will ever be able to take away from him, okay? Regardless of what he unveils or what he announces. But you know there's a but coming. You know it's all gonna end bad with this one, right? But all that being said, I don't have a great feeling about this collaboration. I'm sorry, maybe it's because I'm somewhat pessimistic and skeptical about the AI field we're in right now. I'm not saying it's a fad, but it feels very similar to me to like the 5G days at Apple, where it was overmarketed and overhyped, and it was making this impression that it was going to be a much bigger deal than it really was. You know, the marketing of 5G was telling everybody that we're all going to have gigabit cellular speeds now in our pockets, and the truth is that didn't really happen all that much. It happens occasionally, but for the most part, it's just a little bit faster than 4G, and it of course uses up way more battery than 4G ever did. But AI, to its credit, I do think is much more impactful and is already making a much bigger difference than 5G ever did and ever will. But I do think most of the investor community is convinced that AI is going to be as impactful as, say, the internet or the first iPhone. And because OpenAI is definitely one of the front runners when it comes to the latest generation AI breakthroughs and latest generation AI technologies, you could argue whether or not they're the leader anymore, but still definitely in the top 3 or top 5, I think most of us are comfortable saying. And of course, the marketing looks very good when you're like this world-class, industry well-known designer that has decades worth of noteworthy outside-the-box thinkings on smartphones and on computers and laptops. Like, Jony Ive did so much for Apple and the world. So of course, when such a famous, well-known designer starts collaborating with one of the leaders in the tech bubble we're in right now, which is AI, a lot of people get hyped, a lot of people get excited, and in my opinion, it almost makes like for the perfect headline, because in a lot of ways, it feels like they're trying to justify more investment and more hype and excitement around the brand, because I feel like in a sense, OpenAI is hoping everybody looks at them as, we are the next Apple. We've got collaborations with Apple now, you know, iOS integrating ChatGPT, and now we've got the designer, like the big one, the big famous one everybody knows from Apple, is now working with us on this new product that they're not ready to unveil yet, and that's kind of one of the red flags to me. Like, they just want to highlight that Johnny and Sam are at a coffee shop and they're chit-chatting, okay? They're storming up an idea for a product that we're not ready to show yet, but they want to unveil it next year, I guess? And I'm just trying to think of a time in Apple's history where they did something similar, you know? Like, if there was really something they had cooked up good, they were ready to kind of talk about it and unveil it. Imagine if Steve Jobs and Jony Ive started talking about making a smartphone like a year and a half before they unveiled it. Imagine if they were like, we are going to rethink phones. We are going to change the way people use their phones, and it's going to be this radical outside-the-box concept that no one's gonna see coming. And everyone goes, wow, cool, okay, let's see it. And they go, yeah, we're not ready. You gotta wait till next year. Yeah, that didn't really happen. I mean, there were rumors brewing, but even when people asked Steve Jobs about, is Apple working on an iPhone, he basically just said, hey, we don't talk about unreleased products.
I am very curious and eager to know when I might be able to buy an iPhone. Can you tell me when that'll be available?
You know, we never talk about unannounced products. If we ever do announce something like that, I'd love to talk to you about it then.
All right.
They didn't try to bank so much on hype back in the day. And now I know there's a lot of VC influence, venture capitalists, big investors that are saying like, we need to get more hype. How do we get people excited about OpenAI? And of course, what better way to get people excited than say, we're going to start making hardware now. Like, we're going to break outside of just the membership model and the software revenue. Now we're going to rethink personal computing again and think outside the box. And that's kind of what Jony Ive was getting at in this interview. A lot of what he said was, of course, the typical vague general designer think tank stuff where they're just speaking about concepts in general and why design is so important. But he also gets at a point of like, most of the tech that we use today is very similar to the tech we had 10 or 20 years ago. And while he's right, and I absolutely agree with that, the tech has matured, it has plateaued in many ways, and it's kind of telling that Jony Ive isn't even wearing an Apple Watch anymore. You guys got mad at me for not wearing an Apple Watch, but you didn't mind when Jony Ive dropped it. But still, all of that being said, I think most of us can agree from what the rumors are saying about this OpenAI device that is designed by Jony Ive, and they want it to be another device that they see you setting down at your desk alongside a phone and a laptop, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it just reeks a lot of Humane AI Pin and Rabbit R1, and we know how both of those ended up. Lots of YouTube videos, lots of media hype surrounding them. Oh, they're gonna rethink the smartphone, right? They're gonna replace the need for you to own a smartphone, or people are so sick of smartphones, right? Because the screen time and the social media, we need to get rid of all those distractions and just turn it into kind of the concept Ben Geskin made behind me. Just a little circle with a camera and probably, I don't know, a microphone and a speaker, and it just kind of talks to you. That's what I'm smelling here. That's what this collaboration kind of smells like to me, and I thought we kind of went down this train. To me, it kind of feels like both Jony Ive and Sam Altman are wanting to feel like there's a next big thing. They're trying to bring back that feeling that the original iPhone or the original iPad or MacBook gave, where people go, oh, this is just gonna revolutionize the whole industry. Eventually, everybody's gonna have a little OpenAI puck that they take with them everywhere, and the camera is just gonna be, I don't know, scanning surroundings, or you're gonna talk to it and say, what's this? Or can I make a smoothie with these ingredients? And I thought we went over this already, which is why I'm kind of disappointed by what we've heard, and I just don't really see any hardware product personally getting rid of the smartphone. I know I've said this before, but I'm gonna keep saying it because I really don't visualize a scenario in which an AI-powered device kills the need for people to have a keyboard and want to send text messages without having to speak out loud, or that replaces the desire for people to scroll infinitely. I'm not saying that browsing TikTok or Instagram Reels is a good thing, but it is something we are heavily addicted to, and this idea that this is going to help replace all the distractions in our life. Yeah, I've heard this with the light phone. I've heard this with Humane. I've heard this with the Rabbit R1. And the second you need to hail an Uber, or the second you need a boarding pass to get on the airplane, all of this starts to fall apart. And they're like, well, yeah, I guess you need a phone for that. So I'm just like kind of disappointed and skeptical by it. And I just want to say on the record, I have no disrespect towards Jony Ive. He's a massively talented designer and he has an incredible legacy, and nothing can take that away from him, okay? I don't care how embarrassing the next OpenAI hardware product is, Jony Ive is still a legend. He's a mastermind, and he deserves massive props for impacting the entire world with tech design, both hardware and software. But despite all of my respect towards him, this feels like kind of a cash grab. This kind of feels like trying to relive the glory days, when in reality, I don't think there's going to be another major breakthrough when it comes to personal computing, you know, the kind of tech you wear on you or carry in your pocket. I think the smartphone is going to be very difficult to replace. And I thought Marquez actually put it best, as we discovered with the Rabbit R1 and the Humane AI Pin. AI is here to stay. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a fad. It's an impressive technology, but in my opinion, it kind of just feels like a souped up, much smarter, more intelligent version of a search engine. It doesn't feel like a genuine excuse to start rethinking hardware, in my opinion, at least when it comes to pocketable, wearable hardware and that kind of thing. And Marquez basically explained it in a way with his videos that AI is a feature. AI is not a product. That really summarizes my thoughts particularly well. I think AI is going to have a place and have many, many uses on our smartphones, on our laptops, and I really hope that over the next few years, Apple can step up their Apple Intelligence features and try to come up with some AI features that are more genuinely useful than just generating terrible, cringy animated images or just summarizing emails or cleaning up photos. That's kind of like the basic stuff to me. What I would be really pumped by is, you know, like video editing AI that actually could resemble my editing technique so that I didn't have to manually edit videos anymore. And I know CapCut is kind of experimenting with that. It's really easy to get AI to edit montages, but it's a whole different thing when you start getting into like documentary style or commentary style content. Getting the B-roll and the jump cuts and the timing right, that's a bit more complex, and I do think there's a lot of room for improvement, and there's a big future in artificial intelligence, specifically generative, but I'm not convinced that that software is going to best be utilized with some kind of pocketable product like this. To me, this just feels like OpenAI looking for a way to sidestep the App Store membership fees. They're like, how can we get more AI capability in our own designated device so that we have super thick profit margins like Apple does with the iPhone, and then we can charge people a membership and not have to worry about App Store fees. And again, this all just comes down to a cash grab. Like, because OpenAI is one of the big major players, and because they're not like Apple with the iPhone and they're not like Google with the Pixel, they want to enter the pocketable space. I don't think OpenAI is going to make a smartphone, but I do think they're very likely going to make some kind of stupid, unnecessary third solution product that is going to be a necklace or going to be a circle, and Jony's going to take a lot of pride and a lot of credit for designing such a simple, elegant device, because Jony Ive always loved simple and minimalistic designs, of course, but I think this is when you just go a tad too far. Like, Jony was a great designer, but he had Steve alongside him to kind of come up with that utility and practicality that enabled the product to be genuinely useful and actually bring real value, instead of just another device that's supposed to not necessarily replace your phone or laptop, but it's another product that you gotta charge and you gotta have a membership for, and that's probably gonna be heavily controlled through dictation or gestures or something stupid that I just don't think is gonna replace the beauty and simplicity of a multi-touch display. Maybe it's a watch or something, that'd be funny, I don't know, but what do you guys think of this collaboration between the two? I have a lot of respect for Jony Ive, but I just don't have a good feeling about this one. Feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos, so thanks again. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.